Om Swastiastu. Hello everyone, welcome back with me, Chyntia Wulandari. In this video, I will continue to read this book. So, what will we look like? We may retain our physical human appearance, with a head, body, and limbs. But this may be out of a desire for familiarity or nostalgia for what we used to look like. To be sure, in the environment and planet that we live on, a pair of eyes, ears, two hands, and legs may be superfluous or not anywhere enough. After all, what good are a pair of eyes in the front of the head when the sort of visual capability we need is a full 360-degree perspective? In the same way, why bother with just two arms and two legs when more limbs and fingers would allow us to manipulate a greater number of objects with greater speed? It might even be that we can dispense with our sense of smell altogether, as we have to need to savor food or breathe in oxygen as our body no longer needs to be fueled by oxygen. Especially when the planet deprived of plants and trees no longer have enough oxygen. As to our outer skin, this would be the first thing we shed. We need a shell that allows us to survive even the harshest of climates. Is this more fantasy and speculation? I fear not. After all, we had gone through many stages of evolutions over many millions of years before we end up the way we are. And each time it is in response to environmental and planetary changes. This time, however, we humans are also capable of creating environmental and planetary changes. For a few thousand years now, since we held the first stone tool in our hand and discovered the possibilities that fire brought, we cease to be a passive spectator on the planet. More and more we become the main actor, and with it, we have determined and shaped our own destiny and at the same time affected our environment and the fate of the planet. This very same ability to change, create, and invent is also the same ability that allows us to speed up our own evolution. What had taken a couple of million of years for our Homo ancestor to get to our stage, no doubt will only take a few hundred years, if that. Because we have also sped up changes in our environment and the planet. In the last few hundred years, we have spewed more methane and carbon dioxide than in the hundreds of millions of years that this planet has witnessed. Nature had caused previous extinction to life on Earth during its 4.5 billion history, whether from within the Earth or from outer space. It might be that the next global destruction is happened by our action. Who knows? The amount of pollution, waste, destruction, and exploitation that we continue to wreak on the planet will also force us to speed up our own evolution so that deprived of the living conditions necessary for the survival of Homo sapiens, the food, the water, the clean air, the plants, we have to take on a new form that has no need for these organic things. So that one day, in our next stage of evolution, not only can we continue to adapt and survive, but we can also explore the stars and look for new homes for our species, the descendants of the once mighty that brought Homo sapiens. And we will look back at Homo sapiens with admiration, with nostalgia, and with a sense of loss, just as we do when we look back at the dinosaurs that once for over 150 million years roam this planet. A matter of perspective. It is easy for us to be attached to our opinions, our beliefs, and our ways of thinking. Most of us, when our beliefs and opinions are questioned, our reaction is to be on the defensive. It is as if our very being is attacked and our status in the group or community is being challenged. And when a group of people share the same belief and opinions, we see how easy it is for a bunch of people to get provoked and for a society to quickly degenerate into conflicts, such as during an election or when dealing with issues that incite very divided opinions. As we have discussed above, it is mainly due to the fact that we, both as individuals and as a group, can only see things from a particular perspective, mainly our own. It is difficult, if not impossible, for most of us to have an objective or helicopter view of anything, as we are basically trapped not only in our own physical and mental limitation, but also in the environment in which we live, develop, and operate in. Because of this, we tend to prioritize our own version of the truth and reality as according to our perspective and limited point of view, and more sympathetic towards those espousing more or less the same belief, while we are inclined to treat others having different beliefs and opinion with suspicion and even contempt. It is as if those people are not as smart, enlightened, or blessed as us. Compared to other people, our belief is the most truthful and our truth is the only valid one. Clearly, this is not a recipe for having a harmonious and peaceful life, especially when we have no interest in even attempting to understand other people's perspective or sympathize with their points of view. To do understand others requires us to acknowledge that our own perspective is not only subjective, but when considered from all angles, might even be flawed. It demands from us the admission that the belief we have been holding on to for most of our lives might actually be wrong, and the truth we have taken for granted is merely an illusion. Like 5 blind people trying to describe an elephant by each touching only a piece of its body, the ear, the trunk, the leg, the torso, and the tail, the description given can only be far from the truth. The elephant is like a leaf, says the one touching the ear. On the contrary, it is like a big fat snake, says the other feeling its trunk. You are both wrong, says the one touching the leg. It's like a stumpy tree, and so on. But only the person who can see the elephant in its entirety can tell you what an elephant looks like. But to have this kind of perspective requires a change of mindset, a different types of consciousness. This is not only unpalatable after all, there is nothing finer and more confident boosting than riding a horse of righteousness, but also hard work to achieve. It forces us to examine things from different angles, to open our eyes and mind to other possibilities and widen the horizon beyond our blind spots. Unless there is an urgent need to do so, most of us won't bother getting off our couch of complacency and leave our comfort zone. Thus, what we take for us an outside and objective reality is actually made of different perspectives. Some we agree on, others we don't. And in general, as a species, our perspective on this earth is clear. When it comes to life on earth, Our human perspective is the only one that matters. Certainly, there is no room for the perspective of other beings and creators, let alone for things we consider as inanimate or unintelligent. When we stubbornly stick to our human perspective when conducting our life on earth, however, we do ourselves a great disservice. Our obsession with our own shallow consciousness deprives us of the connection to the ultimate and all-seeing perspective, the great consciousness that we are a part of, as individuals and as a species, whether we like it or not. We are like the blind person that grabs the elephant's tail and insists that an elephant is like a piece of fruit.